Hail, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday Meme Stream. My name is Superman, if you wasn't scared of green rocks, or no green rocks for short. Thank you all for coming today with our special guest, Matthew Kadish of Salty Nerd Podcast. How you doing today, Matt?
Doing good. Thank you guys for having me on the stream. Really appreciate all the support you guys sent our way after our burglary last week. It really meant a lot, and happy to be here.
Of course, man.
You just cut out for everybody else.
Cut off.
Yeah.
Hi, I am Robot Green Rock. I am hosting the show today.
Sorry about that, guys. My internet, I don't know what's up with it. But Matt, how's
you reset your router?
Recuperating the funds?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How's recuperating the funds going so far?
It's going really good. We were able to raise close to $9,000, which is around the amount of the equipment that was stolen. And we were able to replace everything that was taken. So we really appreciate the outpouring of support from the community. Help us do that because we were just about ready to open to the public when this break-in happened, and it really kind of threw us for a loop and set us back. So you guys are the best. Thank you all so much for the support and the love and the memes.
Sure, man. Sure. That's what we do. We love doing it. So let's get started with intros. Oculus, man, how's your week going?
Pretty well. Great. Good to be back. Joining with you guys. And yeah, my name is Oculus. I mostly make memes surrounding Friday Night Tights and just randomly retweet other memes and just ship posts on the internet. But yeah, good to be back.
All right, man. Well, it's good to have you on, man.
Yep.
Devil Made Me Do It. How you doing this week, mate?
I am good. I am Devil Made Me Do It. Nalik3 on the Twitters. If you like memes, check it out. And happy to be here.
Sweet, man. And Kenzo, you had a busy week this week.
Not too bad. Happy to be here on the Legion stream with my boys, though. I premiered a new animation this week on as I was guest on the Side Scrollers podcast. Shout out to Blabs for making that possible for me.
Right.
Say that again, CJ. What?
Side Scrollies, get it right.
Oh, sorry. Side Scrollies podcast. And yeah, I showed off a little short animation I made based on the Super Street Fighter intro, and the guys have asked if they could use it from now on as their outro, and it was played as an intro yesterday as well. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Super hyped to be here on Saturday with you guys, and let's go.
It is.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. Yeah, it was great watching you on there, man. I was smiling from ear to ear at work. People looked at me like I was a fool, but you know what? You guys support.
Thanks for all the support, man. I did notice you was all in the chat, man. Thanks for everyone that made it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. CJP, man, how'd your week go?
It was busy. This is the last week of school for both my kids, and including graduation for my oldest. So that's been something that's taken quite a bit of my time. But other than that, no, just happy to be here, happy to meet Matt, and let's have some fun at pop culture's expense.
Yeah.
Real quick, why couldn't you have just skipped your daughter's graduation? She could graduate another time.
No, she can't. That's not how graduations work. I know you didn't graduate high school either.
Oh.
That Jed's only going to get you so far, son.
True Pop Culture, how you doing this week, mate?
I'm doing pretty well. Hello there, everyone. I'm True Pop Culture 7, here to laugh and think about pop culture stupidity. Yeah, I want to just thank the Legion for joining me on my show last Sunday. And I'm definitely excited for the next show for tomorrow. Tom Connors from Midnight Edge is guesting, along with Pat Steven Seagal. I've also got two other guests that may or may not come on, Culture Casino and Shagsworth. Yeah, definitely looking forward to this stream as well. Loads of news topics to talk about. So, and we've got also a wonderful guest in Matthew Kadish from the Salty Nerd podcast. Yeah, very much keen to talk to him as well.
Awesome, man. Dermy, what's going on this week, mate?
I've been hungry, angry, annoyed. Internet just kept cutting in and out all week long, losing weight. But I have lost about 20 pounds. So.
Yeah. Nice, dude. Congratulations, man. How you feeling after losing that weight? You feel a bit healthier?
I feel healthier. I can move better. I'm faster, stronger, and now I'm drinking, so I'm a whole lot better.
That's not going to help with the weight loss, mate. Just a heads up.
I mean, I work out like 2 hours a day. My day job, I already work out at. So now I'm adding on some other things. I'm going to the gym starting Monday, getting a personal trainer. We gonna get ripped.
It's
Nice.
okay that he's drinking. He's drinking that skinny bitch vodka stuff that has no sugar.
I'm surprised he's not drinking pussy. Energy drink.
I should
Real
drink.
thing.
Pussy has calories. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I gained all my weight.
Yeah, same here.
Pussy.
Explains why I'm so skinny.
Yeah, dick
I
has
used,
no
to,
calories.
I used to be really svelte before I started dating. So
That makes sense. They start fattening you up. They want to take your soul. I'm convinced. They 100%.
That's how they lock you in, bro.
Yes, they make you fat so that you can't leave.
exactly.
And they leave.
Yes.
Do it all
Yeah,
over.
they're like the witch.
Perpetuates.
They're like
and
the
that's
witch
what
in
they say
Hansel and
to-
Gretel. Yes, eat.
In Russia, they say the sign of a good wife is a fat husband. So just keep that in mind.
Unless you're Gorlock. As the great Joe Piscopo once said,
Games are put on this earth to weaken us, drain our energy, laugh at us when they see us naked.
In Mother Russia, pussy eats you.
Wait.
but that's only when you die.
Matt, do you want to let the people know who you are, where they can find you, and what you do? You're pretty big in this community, and you've done a lot to help a lot of these people. So I want everybody watching to go subscribe to your channel.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Matthew Kadish. I've been a Twitter know-it-all for quite a long time. I was a blue check mark before they just opened it up to everyone. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a novelist. I made a movie with Jeremy Renner that premiered at the Cannes Film Festival back in 2004. I've written a series of science fiction novels called the Earthman Jack Saga. And recently I became the producer of the Salty Nerd podcast. And when I say recently, I mean like within the last 5 years. And basically we get together and create a podcast about movies and pop culture and put it out a couple times a week. And we started our YouTube channel about 3 years ago and have been on YouTube since then. And just networking with creators and supporting creators any way we can. We recently opened up a studio here in Las Vegas where we're based out of. That is basically, it's a podcasting, YouTube, and live streaming studio. So if people come into town for either an event or like a convention or something like that, they can come into the studio. They don't have to like lug around heavy equipment. We got professional microphones. We got professional cameras. We got high-speed internet. So people can just basically come in here and do live streams or record content and what have you. And we've been working hard to get this thing up and running. It's kind of been a dream of ours for a couple of years. Finally raised enough money through our YouTube endeavors and other stuff to open the studio at the beginning of the year. And just about 2 weeks ago, we got robbed. Someone broke in and stole a bunch of our equipment, wrecked our studio. And so now we're rebuilding, trying to get back on our feet and back to producing our content. And we're going to be opening up probably by the end of the month to other creators who want to come in and use our facilities and stuff like that. But yeah, we love talking about movies. We love bitching about movies. We love showing everyone how big of assholes we are. And we want to thank you guys for having us on the live stream and for all the support that you guys showed us during our ordeal. It really meant a lot.
Of course, man. Of course. I mean, this community is amazing. When you're part of it, people, they look out for you. And it's something, it's funny because my boss actually watches the show and he was like, wow, what I love about this community is that everybody is like super tight and super supportive. And I'm like, yeah, right. So, hail the fellowship. You guys absolutely rock.
Your boss watches the meme stream?
Yep.
Well, then,
I should be much careful what I say then. Jeez.
I'm going to be a whole lot more loose with what I say.
You're such a lying son of a bitch. I'll tell you that.
and Matthew forgot to say that they just adopted 4 very large pit bulls that they hardly ever feed and are keeping them at the studio.
We joke that we are the most secure podcast studio in Las Vegas right now. We implemented like a new surveillance system. We got new locks. We got an alarm system. We got all types of anti-theft measures now that we got hit because we want to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Oh, so
like
you also
electric
got
soul
Warlock
traps as well.
Yeah, Gorlock just sits in the studio in the middle.
Yeah, we got trapdoors and everything.
Ghostbusters.
What was that, CJ?
She sits like the demon statues in Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, we got holes in the wall that shoot darts out and stuff. It's great.
And flames coming out of it.
Can I just say that was a very smooth intro for all of us? Dude, 10 minutes, you know. Usually it takes a lot longer. Than
Hour.
that,
Yeah,
you know?
no interruptions.
We're
That's
getting
like
better
a
at this,
record.
guys.
Yeah,
Not like 30 minutes or whatever FNT does. You know?
that's good. Yeah.
We are definitely not there. That is a goal, but we are definitely not there. It's all baby
I know. I'm
steps.
just saying intro-wise, you know.
Before we get to my intro, I do want to give a shout out to the chat because without you guys, we would not be here today. So, hail from my desktop computer says, "Oh God, can somebody
You need me
please?"
Again,
Goddess Legionis.
Thank you,
Goddess Legionist.
thank
One of
you,
my mods.
appreciate you,
awesomest
mate.
guys out there.
Good afternoon, Tina. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you, Fletcher. Hail to you. Thank you for the round of applause. We got DJ Axis in the chat as well. Hail, mate. We got Paul Hadouken.
My boy, yes.
Using
Guy is a legend.
Not Leviosa, it's Leviosa. It's Hadouken.
I'm gonna give myself an aneurysm one day saying
No,
the name.
Hadoken.
You gotta hold it in and then let it out. That's how it works.
Wax on, wax off. Simple as that.
Exactly.
We have
He said good morning.
Megaloid.
Megaloid.
What's in the middle then?
I don't know, but it's Megaloid, and he says good morning.
Good morning. How do you know it
I
says
have
good
a
morning?
because I have a Japanese to English
You
translator just
sneaky
for him.
son of a bitch. You should have just been like, no, I know Japanese now.
When you watch that much Japanese porn, you have to have
Oh.
those translators.
Oh, you angry Bandai.
Yeah,
Maybe that is the reason I know it.
Yeah.
We got Iron X, OX Side Entertainment. Hail to you
Ironside.
guys.
Iron
Oxide.
Iron oxide.
Iron Oxide. Okay, thank you very much. We got Ruben in chat. Just so you guys know, they will be correcting me on every single name that I mispronounce.
Ruben.
Travis Schaefer says 199. There we go.
199 represent.
There you go. Thank you very much, mate. And everything just reloaded on me. Ruben says, hail to the Legion of Memers. Hail to you, mate.
Hail to you, sir. Hail to
We
you,
got
Cell
Cell
Shade.
Shade. Hail, my friend.
Cell Shade.
Oh, God damn it. John Connors. Hail,
That's
mate.
Tom.
Y'all just going to
Mono
fuck with me the
Connors.
entire stream. We got Static
Static.
2020 in there. Hail to you,
Tat.
mate.
That's the tap.
We got one more.
I ain't even gonna try that one.
Daisy Girl Williams.
Yeah,
W
Williams.
Daisy, yeah. It's just
Daisy
W.
Girl Williams.
W.
Appreciate you.
W Daisy Girl.
Okay,
And
then.
let me just check the Rumble because I'm still getting used to all this streaming stuff. So I appreciate your patience. And we are also live on Rumble. 9 people.
Now you know.
Appreciate
Oh,
you. Just drop a thumbs up if you can. If you want to talk in chat, I'll also try and bring that up as well. I appreciate you all for the support. I actually wanted to get straight into this. Matt, I saw you tweet this out, and I'm a big fan of VFX.
Mm.
So I figured this would be something you want to talk about. There is this guy who does the VFX from his home.
I saw this. All filmed in his backyard.
Yeah, so I
would
think it's
love to have
important-
TIE fighters in my backyard, man.
And everything's loading. Whatever. You guys can see that. There you go.
What the heck? I'm watching it on my end.
Have you guys checked through the rest of his channel? Like, he's got some sort of follow-up videos on there of how he made sort of the individual parts.
Yeah, I love that. I love how like when creators make something, they kind of break it down and show the public that it can be done as well. You just need the drive and the passion for it. Because that is really cool. Matt, why did you retweet this? Was it like what did it mean to you?
Well, it just goes to show that you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to make a good-looking Star Wars bit, right? Like I watched the entirety of The Mandalorian season 3, and the special effects that this guy did just filming in his backyard put that entire season to shame, right? Like, so like when I look at what current Disney Lucasfilm is doing, it's like it just feels like kind of like amateurish, and then the amateurs are doing like high-end professional stuff. Everything that this guy did in his backyard was like so much better than anything I saw in The Mandalorian season 3 that I just had to highlight it, because I was like, look, this is what's possible. Like if you allowed fans or amateurs to get like maybe like a mini license of some type to do like fan films or something like that, Disney could be like harvesting this content, putting it on Disney Plus, and Star Wars fans would be churning out in droves for it or something like that. So I just thought that it was a very innovative short. I liked how he showed like what he actually shot and then like what the final product was. And I wanted to give him some props for making such a cool little short.
Yeah,
And
I think it's cool.
Because you get like it's similar to like Star Trek on how like they make their own fan films and such. But yeah, what are your thoughts on those? I mean, do you think they'll get like a better opportunity to put them out there or something else alongside?
So I used to work at Paramount, right? And I got kind of an inside look at how that studio is run. And it's basically run by a bunch of lawyers. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And a while back, I believe it was in 1995, the decision was made that the studio was losing too much money because of fan-produced like short stories and fan-produced content. And so they basically got very litigious and basically said that we don't support fan content. And so they would like basically sue websites to get fan fiction taken down. And more recently, like there was a movement back when I first started, because for a while there I would go to the Las Vegas Star Trek convention, which is like the biggest Star Trek convention in the country. And I would sell my Earthman Jack novels there because I wanted to reach out to a science fiction friendly audience. And when I first started going back in, I want to say it was 2014, the Star Trek fan movement was very big. You would have booths there of people making Star Trek fan films and stuff like that. But then there's this thing called Axanar. I don't know if you heard about it. Who crowdfunded like over $1 million to make the sequel to this kind of like fake Star Trek documentary set in the Star Trek universe. And when Paramount saw that they had pulled in like $1 million in fan funding, that their lawyers were kind of like, whoa, slow your roll. And they started kind of cracking down once again on fan-produced content. Even though this stuff is like, free advertising for them, the lawyers who basically run this stuff don't understand it. And nothing's ever been more clear than when you had the division between CBS and Paramount, or CBS and Viacom, where they split into two separate companies. And basically you had the legal departments of both companies fighting each other over the rights that they used to jointly own. So you could only make certain types of Star Trek for the TV, and you could only make certain types of Star Trek for the movies, and never should the twain meet. And so like the fan fiction or the fan produced content came out at a very interesting time in Paramount's history, and basically just got caught in the crossfire. And now, like, if you try to make anything Star Trek related, Paramount's legal team will hit you. In fact, we tried to do a Star Trek Picard season 3 film festival out here to coincide with Nerdrotic's meetup out here in Las Vegas just like last month. And when we started selling tickets to it, it was a non-profit event. Like, we weren't going to make any money off it. We just wanted to make enough to rent out the theater for the day and, show, the episodes that were freely available on Paramount Plus. And you would think that that we were like, Pirate Bay, in terms of like Paramount's response to something like that. So we had to shut that down. We had to refund all the tickets, and it was just a nightmare. And so, like, I feel like Star Wars has always been kind of like a lot more friendly to fan created content. Like you had like the whole Troops thing, which was like the cops parody with stormtroopers. George Lucas, when he was in charge, he actually had like Star Wars film festivals where people would submit, like their Star Wars content, and they'd showcase it on like, the Lucasfilm website, stuff like that. But Star Trek is the exact opposite. Like they've spent decades cracking down on stuff that fans have created, even though Star Trek fans are probably the most loyal and fervent of the sci-fi fan bases. Like they've done everything they can to basically like quash that community, and it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have. I know CJP is a pretty big Star Trek fan.
Yeah. Well, and I remember when the first Blu-ray came out of the Star Wars, the first two trilogies, the real trilogies. They even had a separate bonus disc that actually had a bunch of the fan material on it that they were showcasing, including Troops was on that.
And a lot of it was good.
Of a bunch of fan productions that have been done over the last, 15 years up to that point. But yeah, I remember the Axanar thing well, because they put out very specific directives. Like you couldn't be any more than 15 minutes or 30 minutes total if it was multiple episodes, and you could only do more than 2. I mean, their rules were draconian.
I always thought that it would be a good idea for studios to just, create fan licenses, right? So like if a fan wanted to make a short film or whatever, they pay like $50, $100 to the studio to get the fan license. And there are very, strict rules on what you can and can't do with the license, but it gives you the permission to go out and pursue your passion and do that. I mean, do you guys remember when Star Wars Theory made that Vader short film?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he got all sorts of shit from
well, he got permission from Lucasfilm before he did it, right? Because he invested like, I think 10, 20 grand of his own money into making it or whatever. And he wanted to make sure everything was above board. And then when he released it, Lucasfilm came and slapped him with a copyright claim and all this other stuff. And he was like, dude, like you guys gave me permission. And they're like, nope, too bad. So, I mean, like all this would be solved if like studios would just kind of be a little bit more forward thinking and be like, hey, let's create fan licenses so that fans can license out our content in a limited scale to do these passion projects and build up our franchises and market our stuff. And I mean, could you imagine if you could get like a YouTube license from Nintendo, right? That gives you the permission to use footage from their games without fear of copyright claims on YouTube. How much would you pay for something like that? Same thing with anything from CBS, right? Because like they're very copy claim heavy. Like if you could just purchase a limited license from the studio, I mean, I think most creators would do that because like it'd be much easier to pull clips and showcase stuff, and everyone would be happy.
Well, yeah, but content creators already do it with music and even assets and stuff for games and stuff. There's websites out there where you can go and download assets on a license.
But studios are still locked in like the 1960s, 70s, 80s mentality. It's like this is our content. We have to guard it fiercely, and you fans out there who gave us all your money to make these things successful,
it seems
can't have access to it.
Yeah, it seems they seem to only really get threatened when someone produces something really good, and there is people out there doing it, but it seems there is rubbish little videos that people make of Star Wars kids animation ones and stuff. They don't seem to get hit, but when someone creates something good, that's when they go after them. So I noticed it with the Games Workshop stuff. I don't know if any of you guys have seen any of the fan created content that have been put out for their stuff, and that they started really cracking down on it. And they've even just fan art, they don't want people doing it. And it doesn't send it. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Matt, since you worked in this industry, what do you think about this whole writers strike and soon to be actors strike?
So I've never been a big fan of organized labor, specifically because like I know that when I was working in Hollywood, you couldn't get jobs unless you were in the union, but then you also couldn't get in the union unless you got jobs, right? Like for the actors union, SAG, you had to bank like I think 200 hours worth of like screen time or something like that in order to just apply for the union. And then like you have to pay a lot of money to get into it, and then you have to pay dues on a regular basis in order to like get your health insurance and all this other stuff. when the last writer's strike happened, I remember I was living in Hollywood. I wasn't really working in the industry when that happened, but like I was still there. I was still kind of close to it. And what happened was you saw this huge shift from scripted content to reality TV, right? That was like kind of like the reality TV era because of the writer's strike, because, you know, you didn't need writers to do like reality shows. And I looked at it as like, well, you know, like, why can't all these people who are very talented writers go to the studios and be like, hey, hire me, I'm not union, right? But studios didn't do that. And there are reasons the studios don't do that. And that's because, basically in a town like Hollywood, like if the strike were to ever be resolved, then the people who kind of broke the line would never be hired, right? They'd be blacklisted because of the union. So you didn't see a lot of crossing over. I think the danger nowadays is that you don't need to have scabs cross the line. You can just go to ChatGTP and get a script generated for you, right? And then like you don't, like everyone in Hollywood's a writer because like they know how to like type on a keyboard. So you just need to get like, you know, your son's friend's like English major kid to sit down and do like a pass on the AI generated script. And that's part of the reason why the writers are striking, is because like, you know, they see this as a threat.
They're afraid that the AI itself will be better than the current stuff they write because it's so shit.
I wouldn't argue with that either, because it probably is.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, you know, like just look at Mandalorian season 3. I mean, I think that was written by AI actually.
Exactly. It certainly feels like it.
It does. But so I think that this time what's different is that you have a creator economy now. It used to be that people were kind of limited in what content they could consume by the methods of distribution that the studios controlled. Nowadays, you have not only streaming, but you have stuff like YouTube where the method of distribution has been decentralized. And so if you have a period of time where there's a lack of content from studios because of these strikes, more and more people are going to be turning to places like YouTube and finding content creators that they enjoy and watching them more and more, especially with the advent of like smart TVs where like you can watch YouTube on your TV. You don't have to be in front of a computer screen. You can watch it on your phone as you're traveling around or as you're commuting or what have you. And then you have like the podcasting movement, which is basically talk radio on demand. There's all types of options for consumers nowadays to find alternatives to the stuff they love. And that's another reason why I think people crack down on the fan content so much, is because like, can you imagine if Paramount wasn't able to make new Star Trek, but fans on YouTube were able to make these amazing like Star Trek like fan shows, and people got addicted to those and they stopped caring about what Paramount made? Like that's the threat, right? But that's the competition as well. So I think that with this current writer's strike, there's the possibility that people in the creator economy, people on YouTube and stuff like that, could rise up to fill the gap, while these like Hollywood insiders and you know, like I feel for a lot of these guys because some of them are worth their salt, but 90% of the people in the Writers Guild are complete hacks. And like, you know, like I don't want to wish anyone, you know, bad fortune, and I don't want people to not be able to feed their families or themselves. But if you look at the type of content we've been getting from these guild members, it's not good. It's like they shouldn't be rewarded for that level of terrible content. So I'm kind of at a crossroads on this one, because at the same time, like I want creators to make money and be paid what they're worth, but I also don't want to be rewarding the content creators that think that, you know, diversity and inclusion is more important than telling a good story.
And do you think how do you think this type of writer strike could be like way longer than the last one? Because the last one was like 100 days. Because I feel like this might be like an entire year, perhaps, or a year and a half if it keeps going.
Yeah, this is gonna end when rent is due.
Well, so here are the factors at play, right? So first of all, you've got out of control inflation going on in the country right now. So the more time that goes on, the less the studio's money is worth, which means that productions are going to be more expensive just in general. So they're losing money on that front. Secondly, what the writer's strike is trying to do is they're trying to get the Actors Union and the Directors Guild to strike with them. And if those 3 unions all strike together, basically all of Hollywood shuts down. And so like they force the studios to the table and they force a quick resolution to this. If the other guilds don't join in with the strike, it'll probably drag on a little bit longer. But for the most part, it's like basically the studios right now are hemorrhaging money. They're taking austerity measures. You see Disney firing a bunch of people. You see Paramount firing a bunch of people. You see them basically sunsetting a bunch of like underperforming shows on their streamers. They're losing money on their streaming services, all this other stuff. So the studios are kind of like trying to figure out, okay, how do we save money right now? How do we pull back? And at the same time, the guilds are like, no, we want you to pay more money. And so like there's that inherent conflict there. So as long as the studios aren't losing too much money, they can afford to drag it out and just wait out the protesters. But if everything shuts down and the studios are basically paralyzed, they're going to be forced to the table and they're going to have to come up with some type of equitable solution for all the parties involved. But honestly, like Hollywood is really good at feeding itself. So whatever deal they come up with, it's going to be bad for everyone, except maybe, the people who don't deserve it. Right.
So Matt, from what I'm seeing, Disney is cutting costs and the CW is not doing the shows that they planned to do. Is this the reason why this is happening, or you think it's just a multitude of reasons?
Well, I mean, the reason why it's happening is because there are people in charge of the U.S. economy that don't know what they're doing, and they've created a situation where inflation has made everything more expensive.
Yeah, Zelensky.
I don't mind to interrupt, but another factor is when you're in a prosperous time, these DIE, these very Me Too, all these superficial things are more prevalent because nobody cares. Your food's on your table and stuff. When food becomes harder and harder to get, this is just resources. And as money becomes tighter and tighter, Me Too, DIE, and all that stuff becomes superficial and nobody really cares. It's where's the eggs?
Yeah.
Where's this?
Well, let me give you an example of this. So you guys ever watch Highlander 2? You're memers, so I'm hoping that you have.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've used it in a couple scenes for memes. So
I wish I had it.
Original or Renegade version?
Well, it doesn't matter. So Highlander 2 basically went to a different country in order to film there because at the time the local currency was very cheap compared to the dollar. So what they did is they went down there, they converted US dollars to this other currency, and they were set to start production when all of a sudden the country had runaway inflation. Like we're talking 3,000%. And all of a sudden it became more expensive to shoot there than it would have if they had gone to the United States, and they would have had better crew and all this other stuff in the States. And so that's one of the reasons why that movie was such a mess, is because like they were literally like morning to morning, they didn't know how much money they had. Right. And so it's kind of like the same thing right now, except on a larger scale, because you have these companies that, number one, have made a bunch of bad investments. Number two, have just been bloated over the COVID era because like they took on so many stay-at-home people and stuff like that. But the big thing is inflation. So like, if you go to the store, right, you mentioned eggs and stuff like that. It used to be that you could get a can of tuna for like 50 cents. And I was at the store yesterday and tuna's like $1.56, right? So like the inflation is just like insane. So everything costs more. Then you have California's regulations, which makes everything like more expensive. And so like, and then you have the situation where basically all the investments in infrastructure that these major studios made over the lockdowns and COVID era are actually way more expensive than they expected them to be. So you have this conflation of events where basically like everything is kind of coalescing to make the average content creation doing business of the Hollywood system so much more expensive that it's almost untenable. And so as the studios are pulling back, the creators are saying like, oh, we want more and we want better protections. And the studios are just like, look, like we're just trying to stay afloat. We don't want to be dealing with this right now. So when it comes to like the CW, it was kind of interesting because when the CW got sold off, it was revealed that like they were like a loss leader, right? Like they never made money.
Yeah.
Like in fact, they were running in the red for like their entire system, but it was because Paramount and Warner Brothers owned that stuff, and they were able to push out their content to it for like a cheaper cost that was able to do it. So like now that it's been sold and it actually has to turn a profit, it's looking at its slate of development, and it's like, okay, these shows that we were making, like Powerpuff Girls and shit like that, way too expensive. So we're just not going to do them. We're going to try to, they canceled a bunch of DC shows and all this other stuff. So, when you get away from the socialist model of kind of propping up these things that don't really deserve them, and you actually have to stand on your own 2 feet and, earn money based off of like, audience participation and commercials and stuff like that. It's a very different game all of a sudden. And so, like Disney was sunsetting these underperforming shows. The reason they're doing that, I think it was like 1.5 to 1.8 billion in kind of like unrealized losses, where basically they're able to write off that much by keeping these shows off their platforms in terms of like royalty payments, in terms of hosting costs and all this other stuff. So like, nobody was watching these shows anyway, so it's not a big deal. But like what they can then do is they can then go and license those things out to other places, make a little bit of money off them. So basically the studios are in austerity mode. They're just looking for ways in which to cover their butt and save money and stay solvent. And so like the writers, I think the writers kind of looked at this point as like, okay, hit them while they're down and try to get a better deal. So I don't know like what ultimately is going to come of it. I imagine that they're going to go back to the table and work out some type of deal where no one's happy with it, but they can live with it.
I personally think all the ball is in like the studio's court, just because of the AI aspect. If you can end up having just pay somebody $50 to go make a show for cheap, why not do it? Why have all these overages and all this baggage stuff when a computer can do it for half your guys' price, if not a quarter?
Well, the thing that you need to realize about Hollywood, number one, it's a huge money laundering operation. These $100 million movies, a lot of that stuff isn't from the movies, right? It's shifting money around to make it look like that, just because the studios want to avoid taxes or like whatever. But in addition to that, it's like you can do like that Star Wars short that we just watched, right? You could do industry level looking stuff for super cheap, but the unions and the regulations that are on the industry make it impossible, because there are all these rules you have to follow. There's all these organizations that you have to kick back to and stuff like that. Like for instance, Teamsters, the people who drive the trucks that haul the equipment around to locations and things like that. Those guys get paid top dollar to sit around literally all day and do nothing, right? So like that's a bloated expense that independent creators don't have to deal with. In California, there's like a workman's comp thing. There's insurance. There's all types of stuff that the studio has to pay for, that if you were just like a run and gun independent, like, content creator, you don't have to worry about, right? There are certain restrictions. So like you can't hire non-union actors for, your movie. And when you're hiring union actors, there's a certain pay scale that you have to meet. There are certain benefits you have to provide, all this other stuff. So just the very infrastructure of Hollywood is bloated and wasteful. So, the studios have a lot of power, but at the same time, they're kind of also helpless in terms of like inflating costs, especially with like inflation. So like the dollar, just keeps getting worth less and less, right? Like what you could buy 4 years ago with, like, you could go to McDonald's and get like a whole meal for like $5. You go to McDonald's nowadays, that meal is going to cost you $10. That's the exact same meal. You go to the grocery store, you used to get eggs for like $1.50, right? Now it's like $3, $3.50. So in some cases, $10, right? So, the fact that the people running our government right now don't understand basic economics. Fuel is more expensive, electricity is more expensive, and we're consuming more and more of it. It just all goes towards making everything much more expensive. And when costs go out of control and businesses try to cut back, the first thing that they look at to cut back on is labor. And so if you can be replaced by a machine, if you can be replaced by AI or whatever, the people trying to save money are going to go that route, right? So I think it's almost like a Napster situation where, like, you know, the people who are striking right now don't understand the peril that they're facing. They have some idea of it, but they're like, hey, you know, like, you know, buy American or like whatever, forget that cheap overseas crap. But at the same time, it's like they don't understand the value proposition from the corporate point of view, where it's like, hey, we could hire you for like 3 times as much to write crappy Star Wars for us, or we could use the AI for free and write crappy Star Wars for us. It's like,
well,
the same thing.
That's always been an issue, is having workers who overvalue what they bring to the table. I remember when I was much younger, I worked for Target, and there were people who were all like, "Oh, Target workers need to unionize." I'm all like, they could fire us today, go hire some person off the street, and they'd be just as good at putting shit on a shelf as we are. Nothing we do is irreplaceable, you know? And you got to look at your value, what you're bringing to the table. What are you going to, you know, tell these companies, you can't do this without us? And with the AI thing, right?
The big problem with Hollywood is that, you know, creativity is subjective, right? Like the truly creative people, the people who make good content, who are obsessed with producing quality content that audiences love, they're so few and far in between, because most of Hollywood is very nepotistic. It's all about who you know. It's all about who you're related to. It's all about how much money you bring to the table and stuff like that. So you get a lot of unqualified people getting into very lucrative positions within the creative sphere of Hollywood. And these are the people that bring you like She-Hulk type shows, right? Like these are the people that bring you the Willow TV shows. Jonathan Kasdan, a guy who I've had kind of a few Twitter spats with, he's the son of Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote, you know, Empire Strikes Back. He's a very famous, you know, screenwriter, very talented screenwriter. But his son is a woke leftist hack.
Didn't have any talent. He wrote Dial Destiny, right?
No, he didn't. He wrote a script for Indiana Jones 5, but eventually got shelved. But he wrote and directed 2 movies that were, one was okay, the other one was just like really, really dumb. He co-wrote Solo, and then he was the showrunner and head writer on Willow. So like you have this situation where you know, like, nepotism is what drove like Solo and Willow to be so bad. And that's Hollywood on a much smaller scale. Like, everyone in Hollywood has like some type of connection or money or a family relation, which got them their job. And when it comes to writing, everyone in Hollywood thinks they're a writer. Like, you know, when I was in college, I studied creative writing. I studied filmmaking. I was obsessed with it. You know, like, I've written novels, things of that nature, where I've tried to hone my craft, right? Like, I've actually taken writing seriously as a vocation and as a skill. But most people in Hollywood, they're just like, oh, I know how to type on a computer, I'm going to write a screenplay. And because my friend's hairdresser knows like the producer of, you know, the latest Spielberg film, I can get that script to them and get money for it, or like whatever. So like, everyone in Hollywood's a writer. That's kind of like the joke. Everyone has a screenplay, because there's no standard for like what it means to be a writer. If you pay your dues and you got something somewhat kind of produced in Hollywood, you could join the WGA and be a WGA member. So this idea that, you know, the writer's strike is just about like the working writers who are like the good guys, it's like, no, 90% of them are complete hacks, and they don't deserve, you know, the benefits that you get from that, because there's no standard for what it takes to be a writer. Like, you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have a certificate, you don't need to go through any training. It's just like, you show up and you say like, I'm writing this. And that's the biggest problem in Hollywood is the creative economy, right? Because so few people know what makes good stuff. They're just throwing crap at a wall and hoping it sticks. And most of the decisions on who to hire for like TV shows and movies come from interpersonal relations. So if the producer likes you, like you're a golf buddy, he'll hire you to direct a movie, even though you've never directed a movie in your life, because you said like, oh, I want to direct, and I think I have this great idea. you know, and that's how you get these funny Hollywood stories about like, you know, disastrous movies and stuff like that. It's also how, go ahead.
Entirety of Canon Films' existence.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you know, you could have outside financiers come in with a lot of money to burn, and they'll just hire anyone that they like. And then like you have these situations where movies go massively over budget and behind schedule and stuff like that, and they barely make it out. So Hollywood is not the organizational monolith that a lot of people think it is. It's actually like quite chaotic. And it's interesting to follow it as an industry, because I've been following it since I was in high school because I wanted to be a filmmaker and stuff like that. Because basically you have egomaniacs and narcissists at every level of that industry, all competing with each other to see who can be the biggest egomaniac and narcissist, because that's the person who becomes the most famous, right? It's very rare to find like the truly creative, truly talented people that rise to the top. It's like the 1% of the 1%.
And
No.
like you said, you could probably find some good writers with like a fan license, for instance. If you let some fans like produce some stuff, hey, maybe one or two of them might actually produce something good, and you could eventually hire them. Essentially, that would be one way of finding good writers.
Yeah, the shame of it is basically Hollywood's a money town. You could be the most talented person on the planet, you know, and if you don't have money, no one will give you the time of day. So like when I came to Hollywood, I was a semifinalist in this screenplay contest called the Nichols Fellowship Screenplay Contest. And it's one of those things where like you win like if you win the contest, you get like an award and some money, and chances are your movie will get picked up by a big studio and made into a film. And a lot of kind of well-known movies have become Nichols Fellowship Screenplay Contest winners. And I was in like the semifinalists back in, I want to say like 2002 or something like that. And the thing I learned very quickly is that most screenplays that are bad, right? Like you couldn't even read them because like punctuation is bad, or like, you know, it doesn't make any sense. But if they have like a star attached, or if they have money attached, they're more likely to get made because it's easier to get those off the ground. If you could have the most brilliant screenplay on the face of the earth, the thing that would make you cry reading it, but if it doesn't have an actor attached or it doesn't have money attached, nobody wants to touch it, because it's much harder to raise funds from nothing than it is to have funds already attached. And if you have like a big A-list actor attached to a screenplay, or have like a letter of intent from them or something like that, then that means that you can then trade off that actor's name to get funding for it. It's like, for instance, Rian Johnson's Knives Out movies. So the way he financed the Knives Out movies was he got actors attached to it, like Daniel Craig and Chris Evans and stuff like that. And once those actors were attached, he was able to go to foreign markets and be like, hey, we have these actors attached. And the foreign distributors are like, okay, we'll give you X amount because we know that these actors open movies in our territories. And so Rian Johnson was able to make hundreds of millions of dollars before he even shot a single frame of the film, just by getting those actors attached to his screenplay. And that's kind of like the model for it, right? So like talent doesn't matter so much as resources that are already attached to it, because everyone's scrambling for money. Hollywood's basically just a town full of professional beggars. Nobody ever puts up their own money. And if they do, they're considered a fool, because the risk versus reward for financing a film is just out of the stratosphere. The only reason that you would personally finance a film is for clout purposes, right? So
it just feels like there's no barrier there's a barrier to entry, but the barrier to entry is just shit.
Well, the barrier's been slowly eroding, which is one of the reasons why Hollywood is kind of like attacking fans and clamping down on fan content, and it's eroding because of the method of distribution. It used to be, you know, studios were the only way to get your movie in a theater. Studios were the only way to get your movie on TV or your TV show produced or whatever. But nowadays, with YouTube, anyone can make a TV show. Anyone can make a movie and have it seen by thousands of people. I mean, like, you know, you guys are FNT fans. I mean, look at how many views your typical FNT episode gets, and then look at how many views like your typical late night talk show gets on TV. It's like night and day, right?
Well, I think on average, Friday Night Tits gets around 15 to 13,000 people watching live.
Yeah, but overall, like within the first 48 hours. Like, let's say.
Well, I think that's even. I mean, is it more than the late night shows? I guarantee you,
Late
it's
night-
more of a
on a
depends
much
on the
lower
dedicated fan
budget,
base.
you'll just have to.
Yeah, even if it's not on the level of the late night shows, number one, like they don't really spend a whole lot of money producing that stuff.
Mhm.
But number two, they make, I mean, like the super chat money alone, like they're probably like 1,000 times more profitable than your average late night show, and they have a much more fervent fan base. Like people actually care what Gary and the Geeks and Gamers guys have to say, as opposed to like Jimmy Kimmel. You know,
I've got my rebellion.
yeah. So
Okay.
like, but just the idea that like anyone with a webcam and a mic can go on YouTube and create a fan base. I mean, like when Gary first started, like, you know, he didn't have anyone watching him. He grinded for like good 2 years before he started getting traction, right? So you know, but anyone can do what Gary did, and look at how successful he is now. I mean, it's just like the barriers to entry are slowly fading away, and it used to be like that was just a music thing because it was easy for people to make music and then put it out on Napster, like whatever, and not have to worry about it. But studios always felt safe because the ability to deliver video and movie content wasn't there, but it is now, right? Like we're doing a live stream right now that people are watching and hopefully enjoying. But anyone,
Yeah,
can
if
do
you
that.
guys are enjoying, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm dominating the conversation.
Oh
So should
no,
probably shut
I
up.
honestly, I think we are all interested to hear what you have to say, especially because you have that experience in the background. I mean, we yeah, we're memers, but like we also, you know, kind of create our own stories. I mean, we're not writers. I can't write for anything, but you know, if I had somebody with that skill in front of me, I would pick their brain for hours. So, you know, talk all you want. The more knowledge that's out there, the more talent that's going to bloom. You know what I'm saying?
But
Yeah.
What
When I was
what I get from it is if Dermy wants to get his movie made, he has to blackmail an actor to sign on to his
yeah,
script.
I have to make sure that they go give me those Polaroids. But
Well,
I was talking about
nowadays you can just deep fake it, right? You don't even need to pay the actor.
when I was talking about like the barrier to entry and how it's being shit, it's not like the best are rising to the top. It's the exact opposite's happening. You're having the worst people coming up, and the only reason they're coming up is because they know a guy, they sucked a dude's dick, or they have some money. That's about it.
Oh, he's my dog's neighbor's friend's cousin's sister.
Or
essentially.
they tick a particular set of boxes.
Yes.
That is not out of the realm of possibility though, Dermy, because like, you know, it's kind of funny. When I was working in Hollywood, everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein, right?
Mhm.
It was like an open secret. Everyone knew what he was doing. And whenever someone was like, well, maybe we should do something about it, and they're just like, what can you do? Like he's protected from on high. So like the funny thing about the Me Too movement is it just kind of reversed it, right? So like now women are the ones who are the abusers in the town, and guys are just kind of like, well, nothing we can do about that. And I think that a lot of the diversity and inclusion stuff actually comes from these women who are in power, trying to solidify their power, right? Because it's basically taking people who weren't talented and didn't have the ability or upward mobility within the industry, basically turning the tables on the old guard who basically like ran things for like a long time. So it's kind of weird. Like the whole thing about Hollywood is that it's all politics, whether you're a creator or you're on the studio end or like whatever, it's all interpersonal politics. You have people who have feuds, you have people who hate each other, you have people who are making power plays, you have people who are making enemies. And it's like living in a soap opera. It really is. And like, if you're a creator who just wants to make like a good movie, you can't, because like you have to deal with the politics in addition to dealing with the rigors of production. Like, you know, Picard season 3. I know that the showrunner for that show, Terry Matalas, you know, he's having to deal with a lot of bullshit politics over at Paramount, you know, just because he works in the entertainment industry. Everyone would like to see him get a Star Trek Legacy, right? TV show. Everyone would like to see him take over for Kurtzman, but there are politics involved in that, right? So like Kurtzman, he's been at Paramount a long time. He's got very powerful allies in town. He's not going anywhere. Yeah. You know, like Kurtzman is one of the biggest hacks to ever hack in Hollywood. He's
also
terrible.
a scab.
Yeah. But because of
Well, I'm sorry.
of
What's a
his
scab?
it's someone who crosses the picket line.
During the
Oh.
last writer's strike, he crossed the picket line. He was one of the people willing to work.
Well, he was
okay.
working on Star Trek Into Darkness at the time, and he'd show up on set and do rewrites. But yeah, I mean, he just doesn't have any morals. He's not a very good guy. But the point I'm trying to make here is that you don't have to be talented to succeed in Hollywood. You just have to be very politically astute to succeed in Hollywood.
Which that leads us into talking about the first lady of Indiana Jones, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and the dialogue that we've seen leak out of that movie has been hilarious.
Have you heard the Cannes Festival, like essentially talking specifically about her? The reaction that they've been getting is just like, ouch.
Yeah.
Well, there was all that rumor about how originally Phoebe Waller-Bridge was set to take over the mantle for Indiana Jones by the end of the movie, and then they had to go back and reshoot a bunch of that stuff because it wasn't jiving with test screening audiences. You know what's funny about this Variety article is so like I've been to the Cannes Film Festival twice, and the second time I went was when Revenge of the Sith premiered.
Oh.
And I was able to get in on the premiere of Revenge of the Sith. I was up in the high balcony watching it in the main theater. And after Attack of the Clones, like everyone was saying like, oh, George Lucas got these new writers and he's really like, you know, closing out the trilogy with like a bang. It's going to be like the best Star Wars since Empire Strikes Back, blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, I can remember George Lucas rented out the Queen Mary at Cannes, and like he was throwing all these like parties there to kind of hype up the film. And so going into the theater, everyone was like, yeah, Star Wars, yeah. And like you know, George Lucas got up before the start of the film and kind of addressed the audience, and everyone was like clapping and very excited. And then by the time the movie was over, you had this standing ovation that was just kind of like, yeah, okay. It was the same type of muted response, lukewarm 5-minute standing ovation. It was one of those standing ovations that you do to be polite, as opposed to you actually like being excited about what you just saw.
Isn't a good example like at the Cannes Film Festival? It's kind of like just good to clap for 5 minutes. It's expected. It's something that you do. Well, on the flip side, when it came to Johnny Depp premiering his thing, he got a 7-minute like vigorous applause.
Yeah, I mean, like there are like not every movie at Cannes gets a standing ovation, but when you have like a big studio premiering something or like a big movie premiering, you can expect that there's going to be a standing ovation. And it's one of those standing ovations where not everyone stands. Because I remember like when I went to see Revenge of the Sith, I didn't stand. I was sitting there like, what the fuck did I just see?
So when people forget to stand, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a good thing because like they didn't enjoy the movie. It's just one of those things where like I can remember watching like the you know, Revenge of the Sith movie in there, and the people around me were just like, they were looking at their watch. They were bored. They were like, God, when's this movie going to end? And you got to realize that at Cannes, so like you got a weird mix of people. You got industry people, but you also got like a lot of foreign people there, and foreign people enjoy different things than I think American audiences do. And especially at Cannes, because you got a lot of hoity-toity film snobs that go to that thing as well. But you can always take the temperature of, you know, the room, because there are films that premiere at Cannes where people are genuinely excited about them, genuinely love them, walk out of the theater and be like, oh man, that was a great movie. You guys have to check this out, because it's a film market. It's not just a festival. So like if a film does well at their premiere at Cannes, they can then go to the film market and start charging higher prices for the foreign distribution for it. Right. And that's one of the reasons why they premiere films at Cannes, is to basically sell it to I think that's why Disney premiered Indiana Jones there, because like they wanted to sell it to the foreign territories to try to recoup some of that $300 million that they had dropped on this sucker. So
now,
go ahead.
Is Cannes basically like this independent movie like festival with a little bit of like franchise films around?
No, it is a major foreign market. So the festival is kind of incidental to the foreign market, which is basically where you have distributors from all over the world. They come to Cannes and then they buy the rights to different, like, studio movies and stuff like that. And this is how studios make money off foreign distribution, because they'll sell like the rights to like their back catalog to like a distributor in Argentina, for instance. And then the Argentines pay a couple tens of thousands of dollars for the rights to these movies. They then have the right to take those movies to Argentina and screen them or put them on TV or like whatever. And so that's the draw of the film market of Cannes. But the Cannes Film Festival is basically designed to help gin up buzz and increase the value of the movies that are being screened there, so that the foreign distributors are inclined to pay more. So it's kind of like a weird incestuous thing, but it is very much an industry event. It's not like, yeah, they've had independent films show up there and do really well, but for the most part, like all the big parties, like all the big events and stuff like that, they're held by big studios. Like I can remember there's like this hotel right across from the Grand Theater. I forget the name of the hotel. Basically, all the studios put their people in that hotel, and they rent out entire rooms where they can just like pull distributors and have meetings with them and like close deals. Then you have the open film market where you have actual people who have booths. And this is where I met Kaufman, the guy who runs Troma. I forget his first name.
Andrew? Isn't it Andrew Kaufman?
No, Lloyd Kaufman. Thank you. So like that's where I met Lloyd Kaufman, because Troma had a booth there, and I walked up to him and I was like, "Oh man, I've been watching your movie since in high school." And Lloyd Kaufman's there, and he's like, "I like the cut of your jib, kid," stuff like that. So I mean, like they're basically it's a swap meet. It's basically like if you ever go to a farmer's market and people are selling like popcorn or like local vegetables or whatever, it's that exact same thing, but with movies. It just so happens to be at a very beautiful location right next to a beach where you have topless ladies sunbathing, and you can basically like show your movie there or see movies there and buy and sell movies there.
The thing is, with the premiere of Dial of Destiny in there, and Dial of Destiny being open to reviews, that tells me that Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, they were all confident. All right, we're gonna make a good impression on this. Let's release it. Let's let people talk about it this early on, and it's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yep.
It's really embarrassing, and just speaks to like if they found it bad, how bad is it gonna be for general audiences watching?
I think the thing that surprises me the most about it. So first of all, it wasn't like a critic screening. Like whoever had a ticket could get in and watch that thing. So it's not like they could put a review embargo on everyone who saw that movie. So like it didn't make any sense for them to do that. But the thing is that I was surprised that the normal shills for the access media, like Variety, Hollywood Reporter, IGN, like all these companies, these media companies that make their business kowtowing to major studios like Disney, like Lucasfilm, like how many Variety and Hollywood Reporter articles have you seen defending Star Wars, right? All of a sudden, all these normal access media shills are coming out and criticizing the big summer tentpole movie for Disney.
IGN 4 out of 10. When has IGN gave like below 7 to anything?
That to me is the real story here. It's not about Phoebe Waller-Bridge's jokes falling flat. It's the fact that the shill media is actually telling the truth for once.
I think it's something that they just can't hide. Like they really tried when it came to like Rings of Power. They really tried to show for that thing, but when it's like this is just so freaking bad. We can't lie on this one.
And not only that, I feel like studios and maybe executives are realizing that Kathleen Kennedy not only ruined Star Wars, it ruined Indiana Jones, and
I think
the whole Lucasfilm is all damaged.
There's something going on there with Lucasfilm. Like you you close out the Star Destroyer, the Galaxy, whatever, the hotel, Star Cruiser. You took off Willow. Lucasfilm is just crumbling. Something's going on there, and I don't know how much longer KK is going to be around. I'm not saying she's out the door.
Maybe
yet.
You're gonna have to put a mask
on. What I think is happening, because I think it's like all the shills that take all these little packages of goodies and whatnot. They're circling around Disney and they're smelling like blood. Essentially, okay, that ship is sinking. Essentially, so why am I getting all this good stuff from them? Maybe I can just be be truthful for once with their bad products, because yeah, they're seeing like all these losses and crashes and removing of content essentially, and they're essentially striking them at their weakest point. They're essentially moving on to maybe other big movie studios. I think it's like to do with Disney sinking essentially, that they're being truthful for once.
They should
That's
call an
just my
investigation in Lucasfilm itself because of its like history of production troubles and writers being all hissy
They're
fit.
not going to do that.
They got to do it eventually. They got to do it.
Because Disney's never going to look into themselves truthfully and say, well, this branch is bad. No, they'll just silently start kicking people out the door. Kind of like what happened with what's her name from Marvel. They fired her.
Victoria.
Victoria Alonso. Yeah, they settled in court, but you were always going to settle in court. You're not going to go through court for one person. That's so much money, and yeah, it hides discovery, but at the same time, it's pointless. What's the purpose?
Well, the whole thing with Lucasfilm is a leadership issue, right? Ever since Kathleen Kennedy took over, you've seen the slow and steady decline of Lucasfilm, and that's because like Kathleen Kennedy, when she was a producer, so she was a line producer. Okay,
she said
the difference between a creative producer.
Matt, what does a line producer do?
I'm going to explain. So like you have creative producers who are there to kind of like guide the ship. Like whenever Steven Spielberg comes on as a producer on a movie, he's there to kind of like give advice on like the story and the look and stuff like that. A line producer is a logistical producer. So like if you're like, okay, we need to shoot on a private barge on the ocean, the line producer goes out, finds a barge, rents it, schedules it, gets it out in the ocean, is responsible for ferrying the crew over there. So like they're basically like, if Steven Spielberg says like, okay, I want to shoot in Hawaii, Kathleen Kennedy is the one who books the location in Hawaii, gets all the plane tickets, make sure everyone makes it to Hawaii, make sure everyone makes it to the location that she booked, right? So she's a very good line producer, very good logistical producer, because every time Steven Spielberg wanted something, it was her job to provide it to him. Now, when it comes to the creative side of things, she's a terrible creative producer. She has no creativity in her body at all. In fact, and a lot of her creativity is kind of dictated by her politics. I know it for a fact. I talked to someone who worked on a Star Wars related project, and he basically said that Kathleen Kennedy said that she didn't want any white men involved in this project. And so therefore, like he was kind of like pushed aside for it. So when it comes to the leadership, so like Kathleen Kennedy was used to working for very great creators like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and stuff like that. And so basically she would just do what they needed her to do. But when it comes to her being the boss, she doesn't have that kind of singular vision, right? So what she does is she tries to hire people who have that vision and let them go off and do their own thing without any kind of oversight. The problem with that is that you get a situation like Lord and Taylor with Solo, where the guys have, no one to rein them in. And so they're just, kind of going off book and, going off schedule and over budget and all this other stuff. The reason that Kathleen Kennedy liked Rian Johnson so much is because he came in, he delivered a film on time, on budget, didn't give her any grief. And so she's like, I want to work with that guy again. Whereas all these other creators that she's been working with, like Gareth Edwards and, Lord Miller and all this other stuff, she's such a bad manager that they just kind of like went crazy and delivered a substandard product that then had to come and be fixed, and they had to spend more time and money doing it. You saw that same thing happen with the Obi-Wan show, where they said they had the Obi-Wan movie that they then turned into a screenplay or a TV show. And then when it came time to shoot the TV show, they realized, this story is the exact same story as The Mandalorian. So we have to pause and come up with a whole new story. Like that's the type of thing that like a good leader would never let happen, right? So like Kathleen Kennedy, like as a good line producer, as a good logistical producer, she should be a good leader, but she's creatively bankrupt, and she also depends on hiring the right people to make stuff work. And she's really bad at hiring good people. because the people that she hires have to be in line with like her political and ideological beliefs. And the people who are in line with those beliefs aren't usually very good, right? Just in general. So basically, like, it's a top-down leadership problem at Lucasfilm, and it all stems from Kathleen Kennedy. If George Lucas had come in and actually put someone qualified in that position, this would be like a whole different conversation that we're having. But he based it off of his friendship with her and Spielberg's recommendation and Spielberg's friendship with her, right? She, like, it'd be interesting if her husband, Frank Marshall, had been the one who got that position as opposed to her. Like, what would he have done differently, you know?
Not sucked at it, probably.
Probably.
I mean, who knows? It's hard to say.
A lot of things would be interesting if we could just go back in time, flip some things around, and see, like, would this be a better timeline? You know, would it, or would it still be shit?
I think
It'd
what
probably
they
be
need to do
a
is-
different level of shit, I guess.
Yeah.
I think they just need to stop looking at people who are doing YouTube and everything like that as the enemy. I think if they actually listen to the people who are actually speaking on YouTube about these different things, it might change Hollywood for the better. I don't know.
I think
like,
that also goes to, though, like, the idea of narcissism and the idea of, like, prestige and stuff. Like, you guys didn't go to school for this. You guys don't know the people we know. You didn't do all this. You haven't been in these areas for all of our time. You're not sipping on your half-price Starbucks macchiato frappuccino soy latte thingy while we're over here discussing this. You're just dumbasses in a room, but yet the dumbasses in the room actually know what's going on and are probably better than most of you guys are. So I think it's that idea that they can't. It feels bad on them.
Speaking of narcissism, didn't the Salty Nerd podcast get in a kerfuffle with the James Mangold?
We have a very special relationship with James Mangold. Yeah,
Exactly. It's interesting now that we're hearing all this stuff about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and I think you were reporting that essentially she replaces Indiana Jones as we get closer and closer to the release date. What are your thoughts? Do you reckon your prediction is going to be true, or James Mangold was fibbing?
So the original tweet that I put out, it was late at night. I was sitting on my couch. I had just seen the behind-the-scenes pictures of the Dial of Destiny, the first ones that came out with Harrison Ford, and I just made an offhanded tweet where I said, "For those of you excited about these pictures from Indiana Jones 5, let me just remind you, number one, Steven Spielberg is not directing this movie. Number two, Harrison Ford is 78 years old. Number three, Kathleen Kennedy is producing this movie. And number four, this was the only thing I got wrong, Jonathan Kasdan, who wrote Solo, was the screenwriter." So I said those four things, and that was it. That was the tweet. And somehow James Mangold saw this tweet, and it sent him into an apoplectic, like, crazy 24-hour tweet storm where he
you guys are nothing more than weirdos in a basement. I mean,
yeah, he attacked me. He attacked my podcast co-host. We were trying to be respectful. We were trying not to, like, egg him on or anything like that.
There was nothing toxic in your tweet. No,
but he called me ageist because I pointed out Harrison Ford was 78 years old. He implied I was sexist because of Kathleen Kennedy's, thing. I think his ego was hurt that I pointed out that Steven Spielberg wasn't directing it, and he was. I didn't even know he was direct. I didn't even know who James Mangold was before he started responding to my tweet. And he started really hitting me on the fact that, like, Jonathan Kasdan didn't write this; it was like him who wrote it. I'm like, oh, sorry, I got that wrong. IMDb says that he wrote it. So it was just one of those weird things where, like, for a good 12 hours straight, I don't know if he was on cocaine or what, but he was tweeting. He was in a tweet war with us, like this no-name podcast, because for some reason he thought I was way more important than I was, I think. And he was like, all this fake news bullshit. I'm like, dude, it's on my personal account. I have no affiliation with anything. So ever since then, we kind of exposed James Mangold as like this narcissistic egomaniac who basically is lying about everything related to Indiana Jones to kind of cover his butt. And ever since then, people have been calling me the Mangold Slayer, and I'm like, dude, I didn't even do anything. I didn't even do anything to this guy. But
he took himself out essentially.
yeah, and it's funny because you have other people like Doomcock who've been covering this thing way more than we ever did, and a lot of what he was reporting is ending up being true, right? And so now that like the movie's out there and people have seen it and people are reporting back on it, even if like not everything that we heard about this thing is true, we know for sure that it's the longest Indiana Jones movie ever. It's 2.5 hours long. It's apparently very boring, even though it's got wall-to-wall set piece action. So we call those on the Salt North podcast, we call those slaction movies because they're just lacking in action, or like there's so much action that it's boring. And then we also have the Phoebe Waller-Bridge stuff, which sounds like a lot of the reshoots were to try to fix the issue with like her kind of taking over the mantle. So like there's a lot of stuff about this movie that now Mangold can't lie about anymore. A lot of people are going back and finding my old tweet and retweeting it and being like, Kadish was right, yay. But it was just kind of funny because Mangold got our channel monetized. It wasn't until it wasn't until he started picking on us and people are like, what's this Salty Nerd podcast that he's picking on? So,
you should go ahead and thank him.
Yeah. Well, I tweeted at him. I'm like, hey man, anytime you ever want to come on the show, feel free to stop by.
Did you get a response? You ever get a response?
No, he ended up blocking me, even though I never like attacked him.
Wow. See, what that says to me is because Lucasfilm is infamous for bad production problems. The thing is, James Mangold can create really goddamn good movies with Ford vs. Ferrari and Logan and whatnot. And I think what's going on in there is he's like under a pressure cooker in Lucasfilm. Having to follow these directives and blah, 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 and Carol Kennedy's whims. And he's taken his stress out onto a little innocent salty nerd podcast on Twitter.
I don't fully agree with that idea, considering he's now being slated to make a freaking Star Wars movie. So if you hate it so much, why are you still there? Maybe he's under contract of some sort that we don't know. But I wonder if that tweet just pointed it all in perspective that you made 2 decent movies, but if you fuck this one up, you're screwed.
And he's not going to direct the new Star Wars movie after Indy 5 flops. Let's be honest. He's not going to direct it.
I think he might, because
in Hollywood you fail up a lot. So
I don't think so. He's going to drop out pretty soon and very quickly.
Matt, what do you think?
And Anita Sarkeesian, how they've stayed around so long, because they obviously don't know how to do anything creative, but they failed upwards and upwards and upwards.
Matt, what do you think?
So I think that Oculus has a really good point where if Indiana Jones is a flop, right, like just unmitigated flop, Kathleen Kennedy is going to scapegoat Mangold.
Okay, the fall guy.
Yeah, he's going to be the fall guy. He'll probably step away from his Star Wars. Like he even set it up kind of like as an emergency case, because if you notice when it was announced that he was making the first Jedi, he also talked about his other passion project, which is DC's Swamp Thing. So if he's scapegoated for the failure for Indiana Jones, what you're going to see is like, I don't have time to do this Star Wars thing because I have commitments to Swamp Thing.
Yes. Just like Rian Johnson doesn't have time for his trilogy because he's busy making all the wonderful Knives Out movies.
Yeah. So ideally, so here's what's probably going to happen, at least in my opinion. Indiana Jones 5 is going to premiere. It's going to have a really good first weekend, and then it's going to drop off, and it's going to disappoint ultimately. But that initial interest in it, because people love Indiana Jones and they want to go see it, that's going to be enough to mitigate any kind of negativity, because it's going to make, a couple $100 million, probably its first opening weekend. And that's enough to cover Kathleen Kennedy's ass. It's enough to cover James Mangold's ass. Ultimately, even if it does kind of disappoint, no one's going to be sacrificed for its ultimate failure. Okay. So I feel like it's just going to be a blip on Disney's radar. The people involved in it are going to continue on as they always have. And Indiana Jones fans are the only ones who are the true losers. So
yeah. The thing is with Indiana Jones, it's a highly expensive movie. I think it's the de-aging that might be making it so high, and also with the reshoots in mind. And the thing is, Crystal Skull didn't make that much money. I think it made like less than $500 million. You'd expect more for an Indiana Jones film, certainly. And when you hear the budget for this was like something 300 million and double that for marketing as well, I don't see how this thing is going to make money, essentially.
And I think that's one of the reasons why you saw them premiered at Cannes, to try to sell the foreign rights right away, is to recoup as much money as they can before this thing kind of like ultimately putters out. Yeah, the people running Disney and Lucasfilm just boggle my mind sometimes, because you could fix all this stuff just by, being a little bit more organized, taking a little bit more development time, spending a little bit more upfront to make more like down the line. The thing that really killed Indy's budget was, number one, shortly after I pointed out Harrison Ford's 78 and that James Mangold called me an ageist for doing so, Harrison Ford broke his shoulder blade on set. And so he was sidelined for months to recover from that. So like the entire production had to shut down, essentially. But then you also had COVID restrictions that they had to follow. Then you had hiatuses for the lockdown. And then you had numerous reshoots that had to be done. So like there's all this stuff that kind of conflated this movie to make it way more expensive than it should have been. Some of that stuff's not anyone's fault, really. It's just kind of like the circumstances they found it in. But I mean, like the minute I heard Harrison Ford was doing stunts for this thing, I'm like, I'm 43. I can't get out of a chair without my knees cracking. He's 78 years old. He shouldn't be running around, doing action scenes and stuff like that. He's going to get hurt. And whenever I said something like that on Twitter, people would just attack me for hating old people. And then he actually gets hurt. And none of those people apologized to me for pointing that out. So,
I don't understand ageism.
One to that one face, to all these people, like.
Yeah. At that age, you shouldn't be acting in movies. You should be running a country.
Well,
the thing is, like, Harrison Ford should not be doing action scenes. Like you can see in the clip that was just released, he's punching people, riding a freaking go-kart down the stairs. That thing would probably dislocate his hip as soon as that thing.
In Crystal Skull, when I went and saw that in the theater, I felt like he was too old then, because like when I saw him on screen, I'm like, man, he looks so old, and now he's like 20 years older. And I can't imagine going to the theater and seeing him on screen and having any sense of believability or suspension of disbelief that a man his age could be doing what he has to do in this movie. Like it really should have been one of those situations where, like, remember in The Last Crusade where you had Sean Connery and Indiana Jones. So like Indiana Jones should have been more in the Sean Connery role, right? Or he's just kind of there, and then he's passing the torch to a new adventurer, like someone who kind of embodies his not Phoebe, no, like Cleveland Smith, or someone.
Oh, shot round.
I'm gonna say Cleveland.
Yeah. Something like that. But
I see him falling off of a thing, going no. No, sorry.
I actually thought, like, do you guys know the theory? We talked about this in our Indiana Jones reviews on the Salt and Nerd podcast. The theory that the flashback in The Last Crusade, where you have River Phoenix playing Indiana Jones, and then like you have like these grave robbers, and at the end, like the guy takes his hat off and puts the fedora on a young Indiana Jones and kind of sets him on his path. So there's this theory out there that I personally believe that character who was the grave robber and put the hat on young Indiana Jones, that was Ravenwood. That was his mentor, who was Miriam's father. You never see him in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but he's the guy who kind of mentored Indy, right? And so like I feel like that was like our one glimpse at Ravenwood in his prime. I always thought that if Lucasfilm wanted to do like an Indiana Jones Disney Plus series or something like that, they should center it on Ravenwood and have Ravenwood like show us the guy who made Indy who he was, right? Like I think that would be like an interesting movie series or TV series or something like that.
The thing is, like, I'm of the controversial belief that if you absolutely have to make like sequels to Star Wars or Indiana Jones, it'd be a lot harder to sell essentially like old legacy characters, especially if they're like 90 something. At that point, would it not be wise to essentially recast? I know there was some rumors of Chris Pratt doing it, and I think Harrison Ford was taking none of that. But yeah, essentially, at that point, like, I know it'd be a risk, but Hollywood doesn't like risks. Essentially,
I think the difference is, though, when it comes to like Indiana Jones, the whole concept was one of the concepts was to make a American 007. That was one of the ideas.
Mhm.
And we recast 007 a lot. We have new 007s, and if you go to like Matthew's prediction that, you know, Ravenwood was the previous Indiana Jones or what have you, you could have done that, and you could have had Chris Pratt take over the mantle, for instance. You could have recast him with Chris Pratt.
I think Chris Pratt would have been a great Indy for sure.
I would too. I mean, I love Chris Pratt. You could do this, and I think it works better with Indiana Jones. It's just, though, Indiana Jones is dead. It ended with 3 movies.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I know we're a little late for the meme break, everybody, but I thought we were having a great conversation, and I was really intrigued by the whole, you know, kind of behind the scenes Hollywood talk. I don't really get that perspective, and I think a lot of people in the chat agreed. And Matt, thank you for, you know, explaining it like we're 2 years old, because I have no idea what the different terms are. So thank you very much, man.
Real quick, is Kenzo being smothered by like a pineapple on pizza or something?
No, he's making out with the pizza.
I'm here.
You still you're still alive. Okay.
Speaking of
the Hitler in Hell treatment from Little Nicky because of the pineapple.
Speaking of,
I got that
Kenzo.
reference, JP.
So I just wanted to actually give a shout out to Kenzo. And Kenzo, I'm just going to set you up for what you made for side scrollers, because I think a lot of talent is now popping up out of the YouTube world, and you know, especially within the Legion of Memers, they're showing people what they can do instead of whining about what they can't. So Kenzo, why don't you set us up for the video I'm about to play for you?
Well, yeah, as you guys who have been following my progress in the Legion or whatever, I recently just started teaching myself how to animate. I've always been a bit of a doodler / artist, and this is the results of sort of self-taught 3-month animation. I went on side scrollers and made this as a gift for them for having me on, and they've decided to use it as the outro for their show. It's just a remake of the Super Street Fighter 2 intro using the side scrollers podcast cast as the characters. So I hope you guys enjoy this if you haven't seen it yet. Oh, sorry. Also featuring a cover of the Super Street Fighter music by Paul Hadouken, the amazing Paul Hadouken. He deserves a shout out, man. He's doing some awesome work, and he's got his own channel with lots of covers and stuff, like music that he's done, and he's gave all of us memers permission to use his music that he's made in our memes. So shout out to that guy. He's totally awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome.
Really
I'm very, very grateful to everybody who wants to kind of help out the Legion, especially when it comes to music, because music is a thing that strikes a lot of channels when we play our things. So having the community be like, hey man, you know, use my stuff, I am very grateful. So big shout out to
I literally reached out to him, and I think within 12 hours or something it was, he sent me back a fully finished cover version, and it totally leveled up the project 100%. And shout out to him again, Paul Hadouken. You are totally awesome. Thanks, brother.
So let's check it out.
I love seeing Trav in that outfit. I don't know why.
I honestly, I was like, is that Adam? I'm like, holy shit, that is Adam.
Well,
that is really awesome.
On
Yeah,
Tuesday
Adam-
when
yeah. Sorry, go on, Danny.
on Tuesday when your avatar was now Trav, I was like, that's not Travis. That looks like Adam, and then it turned out to be Travis. It's like, my God, I love it.
Yeah, actually,
Hilarious.
Travis wasn't on there that day, but he saw it the next day when they played it as the intro. He was a good sport about it, man. So it's
I
cool.
also love Blabs flicking her tongue.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, why does Cammy do that in the original game? Like, she comes across screen, fiddles with her glove, and then goes, like, flicks her tongue. I could
Well, I
never
mean,
work out
Cammy's
what-
also hot, so
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Blabs
is
isn't.
Blabs.
You,
What?
you can't have hot women in video games anymore. Don't you know that?
No, that was
Oh,
a
well.
question mark. I was questioning you, and Blab isn't question mark.
we're not
Well,
answering this
Matthew,
question live on stream.
there is a reference to that in the coming up meme stream that we're just about to show. So.
What's that company that like has like this campaign about having like quote unquote realistic women in video games now?
Yeah, that's
Dove.
one. No, yes.
Dove.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
good
right.
God.
You know why they want fat women? Is because they want to sell more soap.
Yeah.
Exactly. More
Yeah.
body, more soap required.
Exactly.
I
That-
had
that-
Amorata say that on the midweek hump this week.
Side note: that fat broad definitely would never fit into that freaking suit.
Mm.
God,
I
that
don't-
thing was.
I don't know.
Kenzo,
Rizzo
I don't
can
know if
fit
we
into
can
a
play
lot of
this,
stuff.
but
What the hell do soap companies know about games?
this is the best way to sell as much soap as you can.
Oh, good God.
Oh, good lord! Get in my belly.
Better than yours. Damn right.
That's
They're
right.
better than yours. He could teach you. They have Jimmy's milkshakes.
You should use the audio from the Family Guy.
That was Blabs from last week, wasn't it? That was milkshake drinks and the boys.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
They're like, it's better than
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah,
You solely
Matt,
know.
whenever you get a salt shaker from you guys,
I'd buy
Yeah,
that.
we should have some on our store, but we don't. I think we need more memers to help us figure
Oh,
stuff out.
you came to the right place, mate.
Yeah, we don't have any memers in our community, unfortunately. It's just awesome people, but no memes.
Well, we'll see what we can do about that. Definitely, if I get a schedule from you, we'll put it. We actually have a special Legion calendar schedule where we know all the live streams when they're going. So
Nice.
I'll definitely check out the schedule and put it in there, and hopefully we'll get the meme game up a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be great. We have two guys who do memes, but they're kind of hit and miss with when they can and can't do it. But it's all very funny. It's mostly Matt Vader memes because he's the most memeable.
All right, we'll definitely see what we can do. We have more as well.
Oh, wow. I'm actually on there for once. On there, you meme.
Is that from the Star Cruiser?
I know I don't have a memeable face yet. That will be soon to change. And advertising coming. I've noticed that people don't really respond that well with just icons really. So it'd be good to have.
People don't like seeing Spider-Man with jizz going all over him. You know?
He's lifting rubble. Okay, it's the iconic image of the final chapter of Spider-Man. All right, it's not
Sorry.
jizz. All right, jeez.
It looks
It's,
like
it's ectoplasm, I
That's
swear.
all he
It's
did. He webbed himself.
This is why I want to change it. This is exactly why I want to change it.
Flatterges.
That's just Dove
Oh,
soap.
God.
Oh, damn.
Oh no.
They should remake that.
Yeah, they should actually.
Yeah. When Dial Destiny releases, South Park should, remaster the episode.
Yeah, put
Like-
one similar
like
to
time
that on
travel
there.
it,
He's back.
Oh, what?
Big
What-
feet.
I thought it was meant to be no green rocks on there. He's the
No, he's-
monkey here, right?
Yes, he's got big feet and a little chair though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the beard though, which is kind of weird.
Hmm.
The
The
beard
weird
will
without the beard.
the beard will eventually come back.
Nah,
Uh-huh.
he looked like a 13-year-old boy. That's it.
All right, you need some
You're not
I don't
wrong.
know,
You're
growth
not
serum
wrong.
on your face,
Popular.
essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I get gross serum put on my face almost every night after I come back from the alley.
That's not usually how that growth serum is supposed to work.
Oh, now you tell me.
Kenzo, I don't know how you got this picture being all the way in the UK. You must be a very fast runner or can teleport. We confirmed the security of the new of the Salty Nerd Studios.
That's about right. That's about right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they look cuddly. I could tame them.
And
Imagine if like someone like types in like the wrong code to the door, and
you guys
trap
want to hear a
schools.
funny story? You want to hear a funny story? So when we were looking for studio space, we went to this this big kind of like corporate building, and in the building they had like these two big metal lions in the lobby, like statue lions, right, made of bronze. And as we were, after we like looked at the office space and we were leaving, we were kind of in the lobby talking about what we had just seen. And Matt Vader's looking at one of these things, and he's like, I wonder if these things are atomically at, like, you know, one of these things have dicks.
Anatomically.
Yeah. So like we kind of shuffle behind them, and we see that they have buttholes and balls and schlongs, like cast of bronze. And so like we started laughing our ass. We had to take pictures of these things.
What does Alliance Johnson look like?
Yeah, where'd they get the cast for it is the question.
Why would they need to cast that in the first place? Like, I'm gonna cast Lion.
Well, I was.
How about we cast its balls as well?
I was like, why is the butthole so detailed? It's like right there. Because like the tail was going up, right? So like the butthole was just like right there.
The guy carving the statue, seen there for hours, just like working on that. He's all, I gotta have this perfect.
Gotta get that perfect butthole.
In his like furry suit, you know, just like a chisel and then a hammer, you know, just like perfect now.
That's why I'm still hoping that they never actually deleted the butthole cut of cats. I want to see that. That'd be the only way I'd ever watch that movie.
Imagine the guy just, you know, in front of a computer screen, just
CGI cat asshole.
Showing
imagine
a lot of
researching
pussy
that?
in that.
He's just got
like
an asset folder called Stinky Starfish.
And True Pop. Now I can't unsee it. It's just, I'm looking at your avatar, and I'm just like, oh man.
I can't. I don't know what's worse: putting the assholes in or rubbing them out. Was it the same
You're
guy?
such a happy barbarian.
Yeah. Matt Vader is a happier barbarian. He's got a bigger beard.
Wasn't there meant to be like a Conan movie?
Oh, Derby's in the chair at least.
At least I got my
Derby
chair.
should be you. He's got a lot more weight on.
But no, I got the tiny chair.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
See, I got the tiny chair. Makes perfect sense. Plus, I'm disabled.
A devil has what? One leg, essentially. I think.
I don't know.
No, I take offense to this one. I'm definitely Bubbles.
Yeah, you are more Bubbles.
I'm 100% Bubbles. I'm not Buttercup.
So
I'm Blossom. So does that mean I'm in charge?
You can
I'm
be
the
my
leader?
buttercup.
Aw, thank you, Kenzo.
And the Powerpuff Girls.
Who needs a CW?
Yeah, who
That's
does?
canceled already.
Did you guys read the script? It was ages ago, but there was a script that was released.
I heard about it.
Good
It's
God.
killed Mojo Jojo.
No, Jojo.
I thought I've seen like every project that's bad, but that just took the cake of the definition of bad, essentially.
Didn't they have like a lesbian sex scene in like the first episode?
And they were constantly like talking about sex, essentially, and it was just like, this is Powerpuff Girls. What the hell is?
I don't know how
wrong
two
with you?
Powerpuff Girls can make love unless it just like scissor or something.
I don't want to think about the Powerpuff Girls making love.
Oh, no.
It feels dirty and wrong.
I agree.
Why can't we have wholesome entertainment anymore? Why does everything have to be sexualized?
This is
So
a
the guy
CW. They
was
thought it was like a
jumping
teen
on.
drama, you know. Well, that's what teenagers think about these days. That's all they think. Let's write it that
that's
way.
what people in Hollywood think teenagers think about.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that tweet this morning? I think I retweeted
Devil
it.
Indian Jones.
Everyone who like there was a picture of like a tampon dispenser in a toilet, and they were talking about all the vandalism in boys' bathrooms for like the tampon dispenser to be torn off the wall and put in the toilet, and everyone's like, "Yeah, because it's a boys' bathroom."
Just is full of bigots.
Yeah, we're
Hey, you
really...
can use them for nosebleeds, all right, guys? Right? That kind of use.
One up each nostril, yeah.
Why? No, just either let it bleed or find toilet paper. Don't shove a tampon up your nose.
You know what it's like, Dammy, when you see a hot girl and.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but I let the blood flow.
Didn't you? I think it was you, Dermot, mentioned that in anime. When someone's like blushing in love, they like blood squirts out of their nose.
What's that saying? I don't trust anything that bleeds for 7 days and doesn't die.
Yep. No, in anime, there's a trope that when you see like a very hot girl in a very revealing out moment, like if you walk in on them, bathing or something, instead of getting a boner, because they had laws that you can't show dicks or vagina.
Yeah,
you couldn't show like any of that stuff. So instead of showing like boner, you get major nosebleeds.
That'll change everybody's viewership of anime now.
Sugoi.
The blood's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to make up something.
Oh, good.
I'm shocked not a whole lot of people. Oh, I like.
Yeah, I wish they kind of made Chris Pratt indie as well. I think that would have been a far better choice than what we've been given.
I mean, if you had to, the wise decision would be not to make any more sequels at all. But if you absolutely had to, it cast new actors essentially.
Or just have him pass the torch on to Chris Pratt. Have a movie where like they did with this one, but have
Chris
someone
Pratt be
decent.
essentially, the replacement for Shia LaBeouf, essentially. It's his son. He grew up to look like Shia LaBeouf, essentially.
The torch passing moment, if done right, could have been an epic, rememberable scene. But
I'm one of those weird guys that actually do kind of like the ending of Crystal Skull, where they get married and it kind of hints at Shia LaBeouf's going to become Indy.
Apparently, they undo that in Dial of Destiny. They get divorced.
He gets divorced from Miriam. He gets divorced from Miriam. Yeah.
Wow. Matt, if you had any choice of anybody to play Indiana Jones or the successor, who would you pick?
I do like Chris Pratt. I think maybe Ryan Reynolds would also be a good choice.
Oh, yes.
Ryan Reynolds would work.
I think
Ryan
he's
Reynolds
a bit too much shit talkity, essentially.
There's that, but he's too funny.
Well, if you saw Free Guy, like he has range to him. Like he doesn't have to be like the jokey Ryan Reynolds Deadpool character. Like he can actually like act. I feel like he'd bring the right sensibility to the character, because sometimes it's not so much about what the character looks like, it's about how he acts. Now, there's an actor out there named Anthony Ingruber who played a young Harrison Ford in a movie called The Age of Adeline. And he does an amazing, like there's YouTube video of him out there doing like Han Solo.
Hang on a minute. Harrison Ford was in that as well. Funny enough.
Yeah. And he like if you look at how he does an impersonation of Harrison Ford, I'm like, this guy could play a young Han Solo. He could play a young Indiana Jones. Like he'd be great. He's mostly a voice actor, but just look up Anthony Ingruber on YouTube, and you should be able to like find these impressions that he does. He's really good.
The other one I like in that kind of vein is Jamie Costa. Jamie Costa, he does. If you look him up on YouTube, because he did a Han Solo Star Wars short and an Obi-Wan Kenobi one, but he's also the guy that did that scene of Robin Williams in the trailer for Mork and Mindy, and Pam Dauber comes in and tells him that John Belushi just died, and he's basically acting out what that scene would have looked like, and it's just incredible how good this guy is.
If he was younger, by the way, another fan casting, Nathan Fillion.
Yes, Nathan Fillion is such a missed opportunity, man.
I think he would
good.
have made a fantastic Nathan Drake, but Sony dropped the ball so hard on that Uncharted movie. I'm not even going to watch it out of just throwing the spite. I've heard some thoughts on other people's thoughts.
I don't want Nathan Fillion to be Indiana Jones. I want him to be Nathan Drake. That's all I fucking want.
Yes.
Or they could bring back Alan Quartermain.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to love those movies.
Quartermain movies back in the 80s.
Yeah, City of Gold.
The actor that played him.
You guys remember Remo Williams?
Sean Connery played him in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah. Anybody? Well, he's a literature hero. Like there are books about him. But anybody remember The Adventures of Remo Williams with Fred Williamson?
Mm-hmm.
That was another one that could easily be remade if they wanted to.
Richard Chamberlain was Alan Quartermain.
That was his name.
That's right.
So Chamberlain. Those movies actually weren't that bad.
Oh yeah, well, City of Gold was awesome, dude. I love that movie as a kid.
City of Gold. The thing is, what I wanted to bring up about Indiana Jones. Why Dial of Destiny? Why not explore Atlantis or El Dorado or I don't know, maybe find a spear that pierced Christ. I don't know, something.
The spear that pierced Christ would have been a much better one than wasn't the theory that it's the
Atlantis, I think, as well would have been really good as well. Yeah, time machine.
The Dial of Destiny can find fissures in time. That's like the whole like basis of it. I actually heard a really interesting theory today where the person said it should have been the Fountain of Youth, and Indy drinks from it, and they recast him with a younger actor.
Yes, that would have
been clever.
See, that would have been a smart thing to do, but Lucasfilm anything but that, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, they also
but did you guys ever play that game, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis?
No,
I've heard of it. I think they should have made that into a film.
It was just a PC game. It was from the early 90s, and it was basically just an Indiana Jones adventure that you play Indiana Jones and you're looking for the lost city of Atlantis. I think that they could have just taken the story for that game and translated it to the screen, and it would have been fantastic because it was a great game.
Yeah, but then they have to pay that writer, and they don't want to pay writers.
Yeah.
True.
The thing is, Hollywood does not want to pay residuals whatsoever. What I've noticed in the writer's strike, one of the conditions was, okay, we get residuals based on the viewership of the streaming things.
We don't want that.
That would mean Hollywood would need to reveal what the viewership figures are for these streaming services like Disney Plus and whatnot. And I think they'd rather die than show those, essentially.
I don't think the writers truly want those numbers. Because Hollywood really doesn't want to show them. I think them living in ignorance is probably a better idea than going forward. I want the numbers. I'll laugh at them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But I think they're barking up a bad tree there.
Well, we are ending. We are starting to get to the end part of the show, so I want to make sure everybody has their outros. Oculus, do you have anything coming up?
Well, just ideas regarding Friday night type memes in the next week. But overall, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter where I just make Friday night type memes and just randomly retweet some other memes and shit postings around Twitterverse. And yeah, that'll be all.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Devil Made Me Do It.
I am Devil Made Me Do It, now like 3 on the Twitters. If you like memes, check it out. It was a real good show. Really happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, I think everybody really enjoyed this show quite a bit. Not that they didn't enjoy the other shows, but thank you, Matt. I think we all enjoyed the conversation. Kenzo, what's going on for you this week?
I haven't got much going on. I've got quite a lot of stuff outside of YouTube going on the next couple of weeks, but obviously I'm going to try and keep putting out some animated content and memeing on the shows and whatnot. But yeah, if you get a chance, subscribe to my channel. It's Art by Kenzo over at YouTube. And it was really nice. Yeah, it was a really nice stream tonight, guys. And it was really fun having Matt on. Interesting. I know I didn't really participate much, but I was here listening and making memes in the background, man.
The life of a memer. That's how
I'm hurt. My life partner wasn't talking to me all day.
I'm sorry, Danny. I was still here. I was still here under you where I always am.
That's right. Right under me.
I'm getting trained. I'm learning, Kenzo. Baby steps. CJP, you got anything coming up this week?
I'm still dropping the individual tracks from my GoldenEye Sound Font album. Just dropped a new one, or well, not a new one, but the latest one yesterday. I will be on Etepo Queen's The Place to Be Reviews tonight for Saturday night's main event, and then also on Monday and Wednesday for his shows. And then you find me here on the meme stream. Check me out on YouTube. Check out my music. Say how you like it. Like and subscribe.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Hey, it's so funny. We're all starting to become YouTubers. The like and subscribe thing is just automatic now.
I'm still awful with it.
Lick it and
Yeah, me too.
She-Hulk. Oh, sorry.
True Pop, you got anything coming out this week?
Well, I've recently listened to the 50th episode of the Critical Drinkers show, and I'm going to launch multiple videos of that. So, yeah, do check out the True Pop Culture 7 channel for animated stream highlights. I do mostly EFAP, some from Friday Night Tights, and some from Critical's Open Bar. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch from that. That show had some numerous funny stories that would definitely make into great videos for my channel. I also have a show tomorrow, the True Pop Culture 7 show. It's gonna have guests as I can't speak today. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Tommy.
He's going to have show on yesterday, but no, it's yesterday's tomorrow.
Right, he's got Fat Steven Seagal on.
Yeah, and
as a
Tom
guest
Connors
tomorrow,
from
and
Midnight
Tom
Edge.
Connors from Midnight. Yeah, so.
We also might have
He's from the
Shagsworth
he's
and
okay.
yeah. I'm working on this whole outro thing. Okay, I'm working. On it.
He's trying his
Pop,
best.
Pop, it's okay. We get it. You're a uke. It's perfectly fine.
I'm Polish, not you.
You're a uke. Where do you
No.
live?
Right, most of my family lives in Poland. All right,
but where do you
I'm
live?
Polish. I live here because it's convenient and they pay more.
Where
Pop culture is gonna punch
do
you
you
from
live?
across the world.
You live in the United
Am I going to have to show you my passport and just tell you that it's freaking Poland?
Kingdom. That's where you live.
All right, okay. Yeah, tomorrow's guest will be Tom Connors, Midnight Edge, Fat Steven Seagal, and possibly Culture Casino and Shagsworth as well. Yeah, definitely have a lot of topics to talk about. I'll be discussing all the shenanigans regarding Disney and their dumpster fire. And there's also been some FNAF trailers that I'm very much a fan of. Not much of a fan of the fandom itself, since they cancelled the creator, but I do like Five Nights at Freddy's. I also wanted to let the audience know that if they've watched a stream like Side Scrollers, like your Friday Night Tights or Critical Open Bar, or maybe even Salty Nerd Podcast, do send me the stream title and a time code, and I may or may not do a certain video on it and release it to the channel. So if you have any suggestions for stream highlights that I could edit into funny animated clips and whatnot, do send them at True Culture 7 or let me know in the comments. I read all my comments on my YouTube channel. Yeah. And I'll work on that outro, by the way. I'll make this more
That was
smooth
very good, man.
Awesome.
You got there in the end.
And let's just give a big shout out to Lethal Lightning, who runs the full Aussie every Saturday. Hello. And I think a lot of us were up first thing this morning memeing the living daylights out of that show today, and it was absolutely killer, man. Thank you for all the support, Lethal. We really love you guys. So also good morning to you.
Morning,
You only
mate.
He
slept
lives in
like 4
Ohio.
hours.
It's like the afternoon. Okay, it's fine.
It's a real place.
Australia
man.
doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Dermy, you got anything going this week?
Yes, and True Pop, this is how you do an outro, buddy. Hi, I'm Dermy Wormy. I run a channel called Dermy Wormy. I have a stream. I put out 2 to 3 videos. I do a stream every Friday called Ballbusters. Usually it's degenerate in all sorts of chaos. This Friday it's going to be over at Vets Talking because I have work. Can't be there, but I'll be back here next Saturday for Legion of Memes. And later tonight, I'll also be streaming on my channel here in 30 minutes and then over at Vets Talking for Skinmax Saturday.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. That was professional as heck, except we are the Legion of Memers.
Legion of Memers, not just Legion of Memes.
Shut up.
I'm glad that you guys are giving him shit, not just me.
I was so fucking close.
It's 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, Dermy. 9 out of 10, mate.
Look at his face too. Matt, do you have anything going on this week? And if let the people know where they can find you. We want to help you guys grow, even though we're smaller, but still keep going.
Thanks. So if you want to check out our YouTube channel, we've got thousands of videos up on there. You can go to saltynerdvideo.com, takes you right to our YouTube channel. Saltynerdpodcast.com will take you to either Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you like listening as opposed to watching. So those are the 2 main things where you can find us. We do 2 live streams a week every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. We have a live stream that we all do from the studio. And then every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, we have our Salty Saturday live stream, which is kind of like a panel discussion, very similar to this. And we do those every week. So if you guys like doing live streams and you want to drop some memes in the chat, feel free to hop on over there. But we got a lot of stuff going on with our new studio. And once we get it back up in working condition, we're going to be producing a lot more content. And love for you guys to come and check out some of our longer form stuff. We have a lot of like really funny, memeable things out there. That's pretty much it. So saltynerdvideo.com is the place to check us out on YouTube.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And I'll
Thanks.
definitely put it on the calendar, and we'll probably be seeing it more in the private Legion chat. So we'll definitely come by and show some support when we can. What time do you guys normally stream?
So on Tuesdays, it's 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is basically 4:30 Eastern time. And on Saturdays, it's 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is about, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So time zones gets tricky, but so like we're in the mornings on Saturdays and the afternoons on Tuesdays.
Okay. I don't think I can do Tuesdays, but I will definitely drop by on Saturday and show some love.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hey, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate all the support you guys showed us during the break-in and stuff like that. It was really kind of you, and thank you for spreading the word and donating and all that good stuff.
Of course, man. Of course, it was on the behalf of all of us. We really the people in this community are very important to us, so we're happy to help when we can.
Worked that corner really hard for you.
And I am Superman. If he wasn't scared of green rocks, or No Green Rocks for short, you can catch me on the meme streams. We do every Saturday. Sometimes we do a Tuesday stream, but in order to know that we do a Tuesday stream, hit the notification bell on YouTube and you'll get a notification, or follow us on Twitter because they're not constant. But what I am trying to do is get gaming streams started, which is probably going to start not the coming up week, but the week after that, because this week I'm going to go visit my mother. So I get to spend some time with her, which is going to be fun. All the links are in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.